Welcome to the President's Diary, a monthly television program that highlights the activities of the President both in and outside the Gambia.
Have you been wondering about the daily work routine of the President?
He prays for his people before doing anything else. He's really working hard, trying to bring the country together. And I think that is one of his main objectives.
na jublu ci aduna bi rep bir Gambia lu mu soxla lepp doomi Gambia lu mu soxla na ci taxaw ci lolu rek mu dimbale julit bi
ngamira ka mirale abala banko sambala nyamena moli solata bulmina pray ma koy ji.
For someone who starts his day as early as 7:45 in the morning, is probably the busiest man in the country. In order to bring the presidency closer to the people, the Office of the President, in collaboration with GRTS, presents the President's Diary.
Hello and welcome to the President's Diary. Coming up in this edition, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, accompanied by the First Lady and a high-power government delegation, traveled to China to attend the Forum for China-Africa Cooperation Summit in Beijing. It marked Gambia's maiden participation in the high-level summit. We'll also take a look at the President's participation at the 73rd General Assembly of the United Nations in New York, where he joined world leaders to debate the state of the world as it relates to global peace and security. We'll particularly look at His Excellency President Adama Barrow's powerful and inspiring contribution at the debate. Another address that we'll take a look at in this edition of the President's Diary is the much talked about State of the Nation address at the National Assembly. For these and many more, please stay tuned. My name is Mfalli Fadera.
And I am Zainab Fall. Thanks for joining us. The Gambia's re-establishment of relations with China brought with it numerous mutual benefits for the two countries since President Barrow's ascension to power. Not only did we see Chinese investment in the Gambia increase dramatically, we have also seen significant improvement in the area of development and political cooperation between the two countries. In what could be seen as a demonstration of strong ties, President Adama Barrow traveled to China with a high-powered delegation of both government officials, private business representatives to take part in the third edition of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, commonly known as FOCAC. With the last one held in Johannesburg, South Africa, aims to strengthen cooperation through the promotion of trade and economic ties between China and Africa. It was a momentous milestone for the Gambian head of state and delegation at the summit after the Chinese President Xi Jinping formally welcomed the Gambia in addition to two other countries as the newest members of the cooperation. This year is the Gambia's maiden participation in the summit. President Barrow, during the summit, took part in a series of bilateral meetings with Chinese government officials and investors, and visited numerous places, including the Chinese railway construction, where he was introduced to numerous businesses and investment opportunities that the Gambia could tap into. Moreover, the President also witnessed the signing of 4 major corporations that will see remarkable improvements in different sectors of the country's development. In his address at the summit, President Adama Barrow joined his colleagues in the adoption of Beijing Declaration towards a more vibrant China-Africa community with a shared future.
And yesterday, the announcement of $60 billion, I think that is very, very important in the relation between China and Africa. That have given the African continent real hope that we have a genuine partner, that is China. And I'm privileged to be in China for the second time within 9 months. And my government is just 1 year, 8 months old, but I have visited China twice. And also I have been given the opportunity again to meet Xi Jinping tomorrow, and we will discuss issues between China and Gambia at the bilateral level. And we will discuss the priorities of the Gambia and the relationship between China and Gambia to make sure that we both enjoy the relationship, so that it will be a win-win situation for China and the Gambia.
The FOCAC summit is President Barrow's second meeting with President Xi Jinping in less than a year, an indication of the serious ties between the two allies. Already, China's relation with the Gambia is paying dividend, with the construction of roads in URR worth millions of dollars through Chinese grants, the multi-million-dollar OIC Conference Center, scholarships and training opportunities for Gambians, investment opportunities, amongst a host of others. The Chinese president could not help but express delight at the president's support for the One China policy at global level. At the end of the summit, the Gambia secured a giant pledge of RMB 300 million and an additional RMB 30 million for the army. Okay, viewers, let's now shift our attention to the recently concluded UN General Assembly that was held in the United States in New York. And President Barrow, with a high-powered delegation, including the First Lady, traveled to the UN for the Global Summit. My colleague Fali Fadera went with the delegation. And Mr. Fadera, how was it like to be in the midst of the global leaders? And what was your impression of the speeches that were delivered, particularly that of the President?
Thank you very much, Zainab. I am delighted that you asked this question. First of all, personally, it was an extraordinary experience for me, witnessing firsthand global leaders taking on the problems that the world is facing and providing solutions to them. I've seen a lot of leaders deliver passionately solutions to the problems that the world is grappling with, from global peace and security to terrorism, to also promoting and encouraging more multilateralism, taking into account the chaos and the conflict that the world is experiencing at the moment. I am particularly struck by the speech of the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow. His speech was profoundly comprehensive, touching everything between his domestic policy in the Gambia as well as his foreign policy objectives and goals. He also talked about the transformations that are going on in the country, anchored in the National Development Plan. He highlighted the role of the diaspora. He highlighted institutional changes and transformations that are taking place in the country, from the Constitutional Review Commission to the TRRC process, and a host of important domestic policies. He also outlined the government's and the country's position on international issues, current international issues, for example, the One China issue, the plight of the Rohingyas in Southeast Asia. All in all, the 73rd session of the General Assembly gave me renewed hope for global peace and a renewed hope for justice and equality around the world.
Thank you so much, Mfali, for such a comprehensive analysis of the UN General Assembly. Viewers will now take a look at a commentary that Mfali did while at the UN headquarters in New York.
Here, world leaders are gathered this week to participate in the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly that is still going on. And of course, President Barrow joined world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly debate, which talked on a variety of issues. President Barrow and the delegation arrived at the weekend, and on Monday they kicked off activities here at the United Nations General Assembly. The week started off with the United Nations Mandela Peace Summit, which was held in honor of the centenary of the birth of Nelson Mandela, a global icon and a promoter of peace and justice around the world. President Barrow paid glowing tributes to Nelson Mandela, whom he described as a man of compassion, someone who stood for equal justice, someone who stood for social justice, someone who stood for peace, not only in South Africa, but in Africa and across the world. He said Nelson Mandela left a huge legacy that a lot of African leaders can emulate in order to ensure that Africa and Africans live in peace without war and bloodshed, so that Africans can develop and prosper just like people in other parts of the world. On the second day here at the United Nations headquarters was the proper United Nations General Assembly debate, where world leaders took turns to participate in the debate, which was centered around making the United Nations relevant to all people. President Barrow called for more investment, called for more hope and belief in globalism and multilateralism. He said in the face of chaos, in the face of conflict around the world, world leaders must turn to institutions like the United Nations to make sure peace and tranquility prevail across the world. President Barrow used the opportunity to also highlight giant strides that have been registered by his government in the Gambia, anchoring it on the National Development Plan, which is a full package that cuts across all sectors of the Gambian economy. The President also used the occasion to outline Gambia's foreign policy trajectory as it relates to China, as it relates to Palestine and the people of Myanmar who are under oppression by the government there. In addition to the President's sterling performance in New York, other members of his delegation also actively took part in a series of side events, some at very high-level UN events. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, for example, chaired the General Assembly debate on more than 2 occasions. The First Lady, too, had a very busy schedule participating in events organized by the Organization of African First Ladies and other UN-affiliated events, such as the panel discussion on the state of breast and cervical cancer in Africa and the role of First Ladies in fighting against it.
Have you been wondering about the daily work routine of the president?
He prays for his people before doing anything else. He's really working hard, trying to bring the country together. And I think that is one of his main objectives.
na jublu ci aduna bi rep bir Gambia lu mu soxla lepp doomi Gambia lu mu soxla na ci taxaw ci lolu rek mu dimbale jullit bi
ngamira ka mirale abala banko sambala nyamena moli sola tabul mina pour ay ma koy ji.
The president does more than traveling. For someone who starts his day as early as 7:45 in the morning, is probably the busiest man in the country. In order to bring the presidency closer to the people, the Office of the President, in collaboration with GRTS, presents the President's Diary.
As mandated by the Constitution of the Gambia, which requires the President to address the nation and the public in his legislative year, His Excellency President Adama Barrow delivered an animated speech on the state of the nation on September 13, 2018. In a ceremony of national celebration, punctuated by pomp and patriotism, His Excellency President Adama Barrow arrived to a colorful scenery of mesmerizing parade by the security forces at the National Assembly complex in Banjul. The forces, dressed in their ceremonial uniforms, rolled drums and blew trumpets as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Security Forces inspected the Quarter Guard and stood for the national anthem. President Barrow delivered an hour's address in the National Assembly floor filled to capacity with diplomats, government officials, local government representatives and members of the public. The speech focused on major government achievements, policy and legislative matters, national unity as well as matters requiring executive action. The President urged all, including non-state actors, to work together amicably and sincerely in the interest of the nation. In all, pertinent issues were discussed. In the area of trade and employment, the President stated that government reforms continue to explore means of improving the business environment, promoting investment and ensuring a fair trade environment for the private sector. In the area of youth employment, he announced that the government launched a $14 million fund to equip over 1,000 Gambian youths with relevant technical and vocational skills, in addition to another 1,000 trained by the Youth Empowerment Project, commonly known as YEP. In the area of education, the President said government set a policy target to train 65% of all graduates in the STEM area. He also revealed that GTTI will be transformed into a University of Technology and Engineering, while MDI will be upgraded into a Management and Public Administration University. On roads infrastructure, the President informed the National Assembly members that work on the 48.3-kilometer Basse-Fatoto and Passamas Bridge, as well as the 200-meter-long Basse-Wuli Bridge, will commence soon. For the tourism sector, according to the President, it is projected that close to $1 billion will be invested in the tourism sector to create at least 4,000 jobs in 3 years. It seeks to enable a year-round tourism in the country. Here's an excerpt of the speech.
Madam Speaker, the fishery sector remains a source of revenue for us. Those activities within the sector attract much attention. With support from the Food and Agriculture Organization, my government has secured a technical cooperation program on aquaculture for women and youth. It is currently being implemented with a total budget of $442,000, focusing on 3 key areas. These are establishment of 4 hatcheries at strategic locations in the country. The capacity per hatchery will range between 800,000 and 1 million fry or small fish annually. Establishment of 3 feed mills plants at strategic locations in the country. The capacity per mill will be about 500 kilograms per day to produce different types of feeds for different categories of fish. Capacity development for the production of quality seeds and feeds. Particular preference will be given to youth and women associations.
In March 2017, a little over a year into the presidency of Adama Barrow, the Interior Ministry issued a release of temporary suspension of the printing of national documents. A move, it said, was warranted by the need to do a comprehensive review of the process of the issuance of the national documents. It also stated in the same release that the suspension seeks to protect and promote the integrity of our national documents. However, the suspension is now lifted and all eligible Gambians can be issued the national ID card effective October 1st, 2018. To mark the resumption of the process, President Barrow and the first family recently went through the process and were issued the national document at a symbolic exercise at the State House in Banjul. After his enrollment for the ID card, President Barrow urged every Gambian to get registered for the national document. The standard of the ID card is similar to that of ECOWAS biometric passport. The process of acquiring the document will be rigorous, requiring thorough investigation and proof of citizenship with a valid document if necessary, said the Director of Immigration Department and the Minister of Interior. Both senior officials described the resumption as a big relief for the government.
ID card is for Gambians. And we have rules and regulations that people have to follow. We want everybody to follow the due process to make sure we get Gambians registered. I will take this opportunity also to thank the Vice President and thank my entire team for the hard work to make sure we get to this level. It's a starting point for this country. And this is part of our reforms. We inherited a polluted system. We want to make sure we do the right thing for this country. And I think this is one of them. I want the cooperation of the Gambian people. I want the cooperation of my government and the company that is doing this seamless. They should follow the rules and regulations of this country. Make sure we do the right thing. I have to repeat that. Let's do the right thing in the interest of this country. I thank everybody, the entire government and the Gambian people for their patience.
The Land Commission is not a court of law. These were the words of His Excellency President Adama Barrow as he swore in members of the Land Commission at the State House in Banjul. The commission, which has been set up to look into the challenges of land administration in order to address conflicts emanating from land matters in the country. The President said that the commission is not an appeal court for land matters, neither will it handle cases that have already been dealt with or are before the law courts of the country. He emphasized that the Commission has an advisory role on policy matters relating to land administration to ensure that the policies are implemented and that there is transparency in the allocation of land in the country.
As a country, we have been hurt because the foundation of our democracy had been shaken and corrupted. Former government abuses the rights of citizens, and many communities lost their land for political or dubious reasons. As members of the Land Commission, you have been trusted to guide the country. Its role includes to investigate disputes, assess premium for properties, monitor the registration of properties, and matters of national boundaries, working closely with the minister.
On the same day, President Adama Barrow presided over the swearing-in of the newly appointed Secretary General and Head of Civil Service, Mr. Ibrahim O. Kamara, and the Deputy Secretary to Cabinet, Rohiatou Ka. He described the appointments as a necessary step towards strengthening the office of the President, the Cabinet, and the entire civil service. Both officials took the prescribed oaths of office, allegiance, and secrecy, vowing to diligently serve the government with distinction.
The appointment and swearing-in of a new Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service and a Deputy to Cabinet is a necessary step towards strengthening the office of the President. The Civil Service in particular and Cabinet Office in particular. Your appointments are to support the office of the President and the Civil Service in order to improve the processes through necessary preparations and consultations with ministers. It would also enable the Cabinet Office to process Cabinet meetings and provide timely reports for the ministers. I urge you to serve with professionalism, without fear or favor, to serve our national interests in your engagements.
The commission set up to investigate and report on the unfortunate incident that took place in Faraba Banta recently presented its report to President Barrow at the State House in Banjul. On receiving the report, His Excellency the President reminded the country that our collective resolve to good governance, democracy and human rights will continue to be tested by incidents like the Faraba one. However, he quickly stressed that we cannot lose sight of the importance of establishing accurate facts and the truth in all circumstances in order to progress peacefully. President Barrow concluded that the government would review the report and take the appropriate action as recommended by the Commission without fear or favor.
This demonstrates that my government recognizes the importance of holding and applying laws of the land, and we have responsibility to follow the required procedures to ensure that justice prevails. I would want to seize this opportunity to commend the chairperson to serve the country when their service was needed most. I would reiterate that our country is going through an important journey through which our resolve for democracy, good governance, human rights, and national development would be continuously tested. In the process of following procedures, we cannot lose sight of the importance of establishing accurate facts and the truth in all circumstances in order to progress peacefully. It was in this context that I took the decision to commission an inquiry into the unfortunate Faraba Banta incident. The fact that the Commission took all the necessary procedures to get the facts and came to a conclusion provide the basis for us to establish the truth about what led to such an unfortunate incident that resulted in the loss of lives, injuries, and damage to properties. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to once again congratulate the Commission for taking up the challenging task and to finally submit an impartial report for peace and justice to prevail. Expanded its activities to engage other communities with similar problems was to ensure that the appropriate action is taken so that such incidents do not recur in the country. I seize this opportunity to thank all those who have sincerely participated in this exercise to help turn a new page in our country. To conclude, I must urge all of us to reconcile and work together as a nation while we consolidate peace, progress, and national development. My government will review the report and take the appropriate actions as recommended by the Commission, without fear or favor, all geared towards ensuring a peaceful society is maintained.
Have you been wondering about the daily work routine of the president?
He prays for his people before doing anything else. He's really working hard, trying to bring the country together. And I think that is one of his main objectives.
ci li mu war a def daal na jublu ci aduna bi lépp biir Gambia lu mu soxla lépp doomi Gambia lu mu soxla na ci taxaw ci loolu rek mu dimbale jullit bi
ngamira ka mirale abala banko sambala nyamena moli sola tabul mina pura ma koy ji.
Well, the president does more than traveling. For someone who starts his day as early as 7:45 in the morning, is probably the busiest man in the country. In order to bring the presidency closer to the people, the Office of the President, in collaboration with GRTS, presents the President's Diary.
President Adam Barrow on September 14th at the State House in Banjul presided over the commissioning and distribution of brand new ambulances to 14 provincial communities across the country. The ambulances, which are replacements to the last batch procured in 2009, came through a partnership between Riders for Health and the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. President Barrow applauded the partnership between the two institutions while emphasizing that the health and well-being of Gambians remains a top priority to him. He strongly pleaded for proper maintenance and care of the vehicles to ensure durability and good utility for the promotion of health in the country. According to the Health Minister, Dr. Aissatou Touré, the ambulances are a response to the needs of the beneficiary communities to enhance access and effective and timely service delivery. Riders for Health Director Therese Drame commended the government for a genuine partnership and gave assurance of continued beneficial partnership. The beneficiary communities are Kuntaya, Garawal, Yorobawol, Fodekunda, Kuinala, Iliasa, Jiabugu, Kelchono, Dembakunda, Sarakunda, Kerawan, Njabakunda and Gien Sanjal.
The health and well-being of Gambians is one of the priorities of my government. And transportation is an extremely important part in the delivery of health services. In the case of referrals, outreach clinics, monitoring, and other services. Therefore, the availability, reliability, and well-maintained vehicles contribute to health promotion. The long-standing partnership between the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and Riders for Health under the Transport Asset Management Corporation is an innovative model of public-private partnership, facilitating the availability of ambulances, vehicles, and motorcycles to the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. These brand new 14 ambulances I am commissioning today are expected to replace the last batch of ambulances procured in 2009. I therefore urge the drivers to handle them professionally and with utmost care. I also challenge Riders for Health to continue maintain the ambulances effectively. These ambulances will contribute immensely towards the effective referral services provided to the Gambian communities. I congratulate both the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and Riders for Health for these 14 ambulances. I therefore call upon them to strengthen their partnership and cooperation. I am pleased that my government pays regularly for the operations and maintenance of the health transport fleets to facilitate the delivery of vital health services.
Earlier in September, former British Prime Minister and current Executive Chairman of the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change held a closed-door discussion with President Barrow at the State House in Banjul. Afterwards, Honorable Blair said that he has never been so sure of President Barrow's ability to deliver on his promises to the Gambian people. Mr. Blair expresses delight at working with the President in improving the capacity of the government to ensure it delivers for the people. He said the government has key priority areas to deliver on, and his institute will bring in people that will work alongside people in the Gambia to accelerate the progress of the country.
I think the important thing with the government is, first of all, it's stabilized the situation. I mean, the country went through a difficult period. The recent donor conference in Brussels was a very important landmark because it said on behalf of the outside world that we appreciate what's happening in the Gambia, we want it to continue. And secondly, I think talking to the President, it's very clear what the priorities are around electricity and power, agriculture, developing the port, making sure that the tourism industry here develops in a way that makes it a key center globally for tourism. And, I think these basic questions are those that the government's focused on, and they're able to do that now with substantial international support.
Now let's look at the recent visit of His Majesty King Leslie III of Lesotho in Banjul as the Special Ambassador for Nutrition for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. He held a closed-door meeting with the President at the State House in Banjul. On the last day of his two-day walking visit in the Gambia, stakeholders in the food and nutrition sector joined him on a field visit to FAO project sites in the country. Our colleague Sana Kamara accompanied him to the site visit, and he now tells us how it links with the President's priority to promote agriculture and food security.
The visit to Njoben and the Central River region it's important. In essence, it is one of the key, it gives an insight into what the National Development Plan is trying to achieve in terms of food self-reliance, and then in terms of community empowerment when it comes to feeding themselves. Because this is a group of community, it's a small village, but they're surrounded by several other villages where you have over 5 hectares of agricultural land or horticultural land that is being cultivated by women mainly, and they have a mix of activities taking place from crop production to cereal production to poultry farming, And then this has actually made them a self-sustained community. And as a result, they're the ones who actually also supply food for their school, which is in the school feeding program of the village, where the crop that's being produced is directly consumed by the students and supporting their educational needs. It has also helped to maintain good family health care for communities in the village. Because from what they told us that the beneficiaries said the health and nutrition of the children, the infants, especially and the pregnant mothers, have actually improved a lot as a result of this project. In the past, when they go to health centers or maternal clinics, they will have like essential nutrients such as vitamins. But now, thanks to this production, most of those issues are no longer issues in the village. And then the important thing also, another important thing is that it provides income for them. The surplus that they are selling, you have traders coming all the way from Senegal to come and buy produce from them, and then taking them to weekly markets and lumos. So in essence, it has actually shown that when you have projects like this across the country, communities will be empowered to be self-reliant in terms of their produce, and also at the same time, it will be able to address one of the key priority areas of the NDP. In conclusion, I think this project is one of the key, is a good example of how the NDP, the agricultural component, which is a key priority area of the NDP, is achievable, and then also the President Barrow's policy towards full self-sufficiency for this country.
President Adama Barrow, on Tuesday, September 18th, received in audience the United States Ambassador to the Gambia, Her Excellency Patricia Allsop. Ambassador Allsop, who started her diplomatic tour in the Gambia in 2016, was at the presidency to bid farewell to the president. After a close-door meeting with the president, Ambassador Allsop told the State House Media Corps that the cooperation between the U.S. and the Gambia has been strengthened since the advent of the Barrow administration. According to her, the Gambia-U.S. relations has improved tenfold since then. While recalling unforgettable memories during her tenure, the ambassador commended the president for the leadership he delivers, expressing optimism that the U.S. support to the Gambia will be multiplied through the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Scheme. The program seeks to reduce poverty and promote economic growth in developing countries.
It has been exciting. At some points it was a little too exciting, but I am really privileged and honored to have been able to witness the transformation that has taken place in the Gambia. To be a witness to that kind of historic change, to be a witness to see people stand up and say, enough is enough, we're not going to take it anymore, we're going to make a change. And I really feel it was an honor for me to have been able to witness that. The cooperation, we have a strong partnership that has been strengthened since the advent of the Barrow administration. We have a number of U.S. agencies who are working here. Our assistance to the Gambia has multiplied tenfold since this administration has come in. So I would say it's a very good relationship.
On October 3, 2018, His Excellency President Adama Barrow received in audience the Chinese ambassador to the Gambia, His Excellency Jiang Zemin, who was at the presidency to bid farewell as he comes to the end of his diplomatic tour of duty in the Gambia. After a closed-door session with the president, the Chinese diplomat spoke to the State House press corps. He lauded the support given by President Barrow to the Gambia-China relations and assured him and the government of the Gambia that the Chinese side attaches great importance to the ties. The Chinese side is also very pleased with the progress in the past 2 years of the bilateral relations. Ambassador Zemin said he is honored to be the first Chinese diplomat to serve in the Gambia since the assumption of bilateral ties, adding that he had a momentous 2.5 years in the Gambia.
It's a sad moment with mixed feelings, but President and I, we have reviewed what happened in the past 2 years of our bilateral relations. I think we are very satisfied with the achievements and progress of our bilateral relations and the cooperation. A lot of achievements have been made. I'm so honored to serve as the first Chinese ambassador to the Gambia since the resumption of bilateral ties. It's a huge responsibility. It's a huge honor. I enjoyed every moment and minute in the past 2.5 years in the Gambia.
Still on the president's diplomatic engagements, the latest to pay a courtesy call on President Barrow at the State House in Banjul was the African Union chairperson Musa Faki Mohamed. In a meeting held on Wednesday, the president assured the visited AU chairperson that his administration's ongoing reforms will ensure a free, fair and level playing field for future elections in the country. President Barrow also pointed out that his government has embarked on a series of sectoral and institutional reforms that will strengthen transparency, good governance and democracy. He therefore enlisted the support of the Union to continue assisting the government to consolidate the gains so far registered.
I was just in office for 6 months, looking at the background, how we came to power. After 22 years of dictatorship, it was a very difficult moment. It was a mountain to climb. We needed every support, especially the African Union. But we cannot thank you enough for the support. We have a lot of challenges as a country, as a government, as a president. If you are the president, you are the bus driver. As you get to the stop, people will drop from the bus, but you will have people entering the bus. But you remain in the bus to drive the agenda. We are very focused to make a change for this country. And we want the change to reflect the Gambian people. But we cannot do it alone. We need everybody's support, especially the AU. The AU is the body. That is bringing Africa together. That is driving the African agenda. And I think now Africa, I've been saying it several times, we have no excuse. Now we have the capacity, we have the knowledge to make sure Africa succeeds. And today we will congratulate you that Africa have confidence in you. That's why you are in this position. The meeting we had in your office, I emphasized security in that meeting, and I still will emphasize security. Without peace and stability, we cannot develop. Without peace and stability, the integration we're talking about, African integration, is not possible. And I think Africa, to integrate, it could not have come at a better time than now. Why? Because Africa was confronted with a lot of problems, wars, coup d'etats, and other things. But now, we are all focused, we are seeing the same direction. Everybody believes in democracy. As we are thinking of democracy, rule of law, independent of the judiciary, I think these are areas that we have to work on to make sure we integrate as Africans. But before we integrate as Africa, we have to integrate as neighbors, that is ECOWAS, first, if we are serious. My government, we have embarked on reforms. That is our main focus. A reform is not one area, basically in every area. Security sector reforms, civil service reforms, judicial reforms, these are all ongoing. So we have a transition, and the transition is 5 years. We need support during this period of our transition. And in this transition, we have to maintain a very steady security in this country. And your support is needed in that. That's why I make it very clear here, we will need the support of ECOWAS. The ECOWAS forces that are in the country, we will need them for our transition period. For the security sector, we are thinking in a lot of aspects. We want to right-size our security sector, and the sector is polluted. Right-sizing it is not enough. but we have to build their capacity. And in building their capacity, we need the AU. So our main focus is we need the security here for our transition. So that in 2021, we would have complete our reform process and organize a very good election in this country. We create a level playing field so that we can build on that. But we will appeal for you to continue supporting us. We are a small country, but I think we can be a test case, we can be a sample in the future.
President Barrow concluded by re-emphasizing his government's readiness to support the African Union in its drive to attain peace and security, as well as ensure closer collaboration between countries on the continent. For his part, Chairperson Faki Mohammed expressed optimism and delight at the President's efforts in promoting the values of peace, democracy and good governance. He said despite inheriting a difficult situation, President Barrow is setting the country on the right path, which was one of the reasons he visited the country to express solidarity and support to the President and his administration. Well, viewers, that's all we have got for you in this edition of the President's Diary. Join us for the next episode as we bring you activities about the President's engagement in the realization of the goals of the National Development Plan. My name is Mfali Fadera and my co-presenter is Zainab Fall.
Thank you for the pleasure of your company, viewers. Do join us for the next episode of the President's Diary.
Have you been wondering about the daily work routine of the President?
He prays for his people before doing anything else. He's really working hard, trying to bring the country together. And I think that is one of his main objectives.
na jublu ci aduna bi rep bir Gambia lu mu soxla lepp doomi Gambia lu mu soxla na ci taxaw ci lolu rek mu dimbale jullit bi
ngamira ka mirale abala banko sambala nyamena mori solata bulmina pour ay ma koy ji.
The President does more than traveling. For someone who starts his day as early as 7:45 in the morning, is probably the busiest man in the country. In order to bring the presidency closer to the people, the Office of the President, in collaboration with GRTS, presents the President's Diary.